So today's day to take stock. I skimmed. I didn't have time to do the reading. I skimmed it and thought, oh, well, they'll understand all this. But didn't you? Isn't it all rather clear? Yeah, no, I mean, as you're reading along, you're not stumped by what's going on, right? All right. At what point were you stumped in the? Well, let me ask some other things first. The tendency in writing a graduate seminar paper is to think of some research topic that, you know, will take you out, as you were saying today, the various usages of the word truth in this and many different systems. And the hardest thing to understand about the type of paper that I'm looking for is that I want it on this material. And it comes because you are new to this material. And if you had grown up with it and by now you were really in graduate school instead of in wherever you are, you know, I mean, we could go on a very firm foundation and do a million comparisons and put our mind into like doing Gilbu Madhyamaka and Dzogchen, Gilbu Madhyamaka and Hearn views of direct perception. Forget it. There's no hope. And it's hard to even, you know, you think, well, you know, I've got to get into Fred Strang's system. And just as we have a system here, so we should get that system. Well, it may be true, but the paper should be something that reveals your command of this system. I was thinking maybe one of the most helpful papers may be, and I'm even thinking to assign it, but then you can convince me to do some other paper, would be the 32, or some or all, of the 32 views that I say at the beginning of meditation on emptiness are not held by Gelugpas. Page 16 and 17. I don't know. What have you been thinking about with respect to a paper?
Well, I did look at these and I thought I'd like to do something about the two truths, but I was trying to think of some sort of angle from which to approach it. But from among this list, I thought I might, in the process of writing paper, attack 17 through 19, 22, 23, 26, 27, and 32. Mm-hmm. So I did sort of think of this.
Yeah. And it's exactly the point. You need an angle, some angle to do it on. I'm not giving you the angle, but I'm trying to root you, you see, in this material. And you may, was in the seminar, the mind-only seminar, and wrote a couple papers for me. Did one, it was miserable, did another. I forget if it was more miserable or not. And my advice to him at some point was, you know, there's this pile of shit in front of you, which is the material of this course. And I said, just go and stick your head in it. You know, it's like you're trying to go somewhere else than this material in order to find something to write on. And you're sort of looking at this material as a pile of shit. You know, it's smelly and so forth. Well, the mind-only course is particularly difficult, so it's, you know, more appropriate. You know, I'd have to figure out something that wasn't quite so smelly to compare it to here. Do you follow? Because when you're not quite into how the system is working, you're immediately drawn into doing something other. So I want to hear, when am I hearing about your paper topics? Oh, good.
I was thinking, when I'm trying to think of what to write about, I was thinking of what I don't understand and what I want to understand, and writing about that, not knowing really what I would say about it now,
Yes.
because I don't understand it, but using the paper as a way of
Yes.
just delving into
Yes.
specificity. Is that the right?
Yes, yes, right. Because I mean, that's why it's a pile of shit in a sense. But you have no fear of it, you see. In his case, there was like, he was always trying to get away from it. Do any talk about, as you were saying, truth in this system and that, you know? Go right into this material. It's really crucial to the system that the reasoning is not something, you know, over there, but it's just what we were doing at the beginning that crushes you. I mean, you know, as you said, then don't you feel lonely? You know, I mean, that means some impact is hitting. It's not some airy thing that's done, just, oh yeah, it's not the same, not both, not the other, you know? And then let's get on to some other topic. But it really rearranges what your mind is doing. Look at what's happened to him. He used to smile all the time. And you look over at him today. When I saw him really, God, what is he contemplating? Is he looking for the building and not finding it? Boy, I was doing that as I was in the elevator coming out. Yes. Looking, I think I was looking for Cabral Fall. Which is, yeah, I'd already found it in one way, so it wasn't too dangerous. And you know, and it came together with, you know, the non-finding, and I thought, oh, wow, which I've sort of cognized at other times, but have lost and so forth. Doesn't make any difference where I am. You know, I don't need to go anywhere, or it's not going to help me to go anywhere, you know? And you're going to go somewhere else, and you're still going to be, you know, the same. It'll be the same realization, and it won't make diddly spot where you were. I think it comes out of thinking that as I was getting out of the car, getting my stuff out of the car, that emptiness is the ultimate nature of everything. You see, so it's like it almost doesn't make any difference. As Daido Roshi, he sang a song, one of Al Jolson's songs, up in, where's it, Mount Tremper? Which is something like, I don't know, no matter where you go, you end up back home looking out the same old window. Something. So, are all possibilities of production included in the 4 production from self, other, both, and neither? You know, when it's refuted, there's no inherently existent production because things aren't produced from self, other, both, and neither, that sort of thing. Are all possibilities of production included in those 4? Hey!
Yes.
So then how can production exist conventionally if all possibilities of production are included in this 4? They're all 4 are refuted. Isn't what's refuted ultimately refuted conventionally?
The analyses are different. I think they're getting.
The analyses are different. Oh, then all 4 possible types of production aren't included. What about conventionally existent production? Is that included in the 4? Yes or no?
No.
No. Then there are 5. There are 5 possibilities for production from self, other, both, and neither, and conventionally existent production. So then the 4 are not all inclusive of production. So then, when you refute them, those 4, how could you decide that production doesn't ultimately exist?
Obviously.
Well, you're wrong.
Maybe
They
when
are.
you say production in that sentence.
What?
Maybe when you say production is refuted by those four, you're talking about ultimately inherently existing production.
It's inherently existing.
Production of inherently existing.
It's also.
Therefore,
And so we're talking about two productions here.
yes.
So therefore there's no problem with it.
That why?
Because you were talking about a different production than yours.
Hey, but I was talking about all types of production.
Well, maybe you weren't. Maybe in that statement, we can interpret your word production to mean all the production of inherently existing things.
Oh, like inherently existing production. The possibilities of inherently existing production are only these four.
Well, this is the kind of reasoning that they use. It's kind of starting to sort of annoy me, is that they say, well, in this sentence, he really meant this. And this is the type of meaning that this
Yes.
is actually meant in that sentence. But
It is
in that
annoying.
sentence-
Yeah. So then you're saying that production self-evident neither refers to the four possibilities for inherently existing production
Yeah.
and is not inclusive of all types of production.
Well, no. All types of, it depends what you mean by production.
Well, once I said inherently existing production and production,
It definitely won't go along with that. It has to be contained within those four. You lose the force of the argument. You're waiting around for some fifth possibilities. So obviously we have to disagree that it's any more than those four. But is there, or is it?
no, wait a minute. You have, if we talk about human beings, they're either male, female, hermaphrodite, or neuter, or I don't know. Used to, in Tibet, they usually give this example. They're either male or female. They were fun with this example. You know, there are only so many possibilities, right? But that they might be tables, you don't have to consider. To determine that this thing in front of us is not a human, for instance, you just go through those possibilities. You don't need to consider whether it's a table. It's totally irrelevant, right? So all possibilities of existence are not included in those possibilities, just of being a human, right? So here, all possibilities of inherently existent production are included in these four, but not of production. So that means when we just talk about production, even if they say, oh, when he was talking about production, he meant inherently existing production. When we talk about production, then it just means production. You follow? Any way whatsoever. So the four possibilities don't include all types of production. But they do include all types of inherently existing production. Therefore, if you can refute these four, you can refute inherently existing production. You see, some people accuse the Gelupas of not, including all types of production in the four. And they say, yes, we don't. Then they say, well, how can the reasoning be conclusive? It certainly looks as if Nagarjuna is including all types of production, and then he's refuting production. Well, if he were, then conventionally there couldn't be any production. Probably. I mean, within the Gelupa exegesis, that's how it goes. Now, what's annoying is that in order to rescue conventionally existing production, they have to keep adding these words in. Sometimes add them in, sometimes not. And it's quite a game that has to be played. And I, in my books, try to add them in. Add in the words as much as possible, just to show how annoying it is. Just to show how much you have to keep adding in interpretive material in order to understand it the way they understand it. Now, of course, conventionally existing production is not ultimately established, right? But what kind of production are cause and effect other within You see, if I don't qualify it, it means the one that exists. Yes. I don't qualify. It's just the way the game is played.
The one that inherently exists.
If I speak about production, and we're not talking about, you know, then we're just talking about production. What did I say? I forgot what I said. What was I talking about? Before I commented on what I was talking about? Huh? No one knows.
Cause and effect.
Yes, you said that if we're talking about production without commenting, qualifying it, that's the one that exists.
So, and what kind of production is that? Are cause and effect the same? You know, within Prasāṅgika there is production, right? Are cause and effect the same entity or different entities? Same or different? You look for Prasāṅgika. Conventionally existent production, just to make it clear. Different entities. Different entities. So, isn't this production from other then? We have 4 possibilities of inherently existent production, which are called production from self, other, both, and neither. Why are these all inclusive of inherently existent production? Why? Because
One thing that came to mind, which may not be answered your question, is they have to include self because they're dealing with the Psalm case. It's a deep aside point. That's what I was thinking about.
thank you for telling us what you were thinking about. I was just thinking about my fingernails.
What was your question?
What was it? Where are we?
Why are these?
No, I know where we are. I'm mocking him this time. He's my straight man. Now when I want to laugh, I trigger him. Why are the 4 all inclusive? How could you make an argument? Tell me. You know, if you refute that things are produced from self, other, both, and neither, why is this all inclusive of the types of production? Why?
There's no other way.
There's no other way. That's good.
And can we find something that is no self, no other, no both, and no neither?
No one remembers? Production is either caused or uncaused. It's very neat. You see, this is the way it's treated. Production, I was just wondering, it's one of the things you read, and as you read it, you thought, oh, that's easy. And it went by. But caused and uncaused. Neither means none of these means uncaused. Neither is caused. None of those, right? Or just uncaused. So these are 3 types of caused production. Production from self, as Bill was saying, is associated with the sun. Production from others associated with. What are the 4 schools of Buddhist tenets?
Vajrayana, Prasāṅgika, Mantra, and
Right. So, production from others associated with all of them. All of them. So the Prasāṅgikas are associated with production from other.
Well, if it's just production, not inherently existing production.
Production from other? Oh, the Prasāṅgikas assert production from other. Shenge.
Oh, no. I backed out.
Take. Sankhya's assert take. This is called Shenge, which Bill said is asserted by the Vaibhashika. Right. I'm just wondering, are there other Buddhists? Sautrantikas? Yes. From the. Yes. And?
Sure, that this Chiramas
Chittamantra,
doesn't have
and
its potential just.
from the Prasāṅgika's point of view, right?
So essentially everybody
Everyone
besides the
but-
Prasāṅgika.
Maybe from their own point of view. I don't know, but that's the.
What about Dendra? Dendra, doesn't that imply arising and production from other? Shema?
It's interesting. Very much so. Which is the question I'm trying to get back to, which is, don't the Prasāṅgikas also assert Shenge, production from other? Because as he says, things are produced in dependence upon causes that are other than them. But then he said Prasāṅgikas don't assert Shenge, right? But if they do assert Shenge, then they're refuting themselves? So which is it? Very difficult question. Who asserts both? You know, like who? The giants. Giants, also just called giants. Shenge are the lower Buddhist systems. And Dakye, the Sankhyas. Do you want to go? Who asserts female go? Oh my God. Oh my God. Hedonists. Translate hedonist into Tibetan. That's Young Brahma's another name for them. Isn't it? Is it all? Young Brahma? Ayat. The flown apart. Young Brahma. I'm forgetting what the Tibetan for hedonist is. There is a word. Charvaka is, yes, Tsuro Zeba. Charvaka. Tsuro Zeba is a nice word. Zeba means beautiful. Beautiful here. You see? Tsuro Zeba. Mutekva, the term Tirtaka, it goes with, I guess would have to be all non-Buddhist, what? Indian systems, Hindu systems, except the Charvakas. Why are they called Mudeka?
They reverse the two extremes.
Yes, they have a forward, a take to the end, actually, which is liberation. This is their own etymology. Buddhists have an etymology of a forward to an extreme, I believe. Something like that. I'll put that. Now, when they say things are produced causelessly, do they say that it's senseless to plant corn? If they were thorough proponents of causeless production, then they would, you know, it would be senseless to do anything, because anything could be produced from anything. But they're not that foolish.
What doesn't it just mean that they said that there is something that's produced from that there is something that is not produced by the person?
It's particularly with regard, yes, not everything. So they don't say it's senseless to plant corn, it is sensible to plant corn. So it's particularly moral causing. Robbing, stealing, adultery, you name it. There's no out.
Since all they refute karma and rebirth, is that they
Some of them refute rebirth, but apparently some of them also assert rebirth. Rebirth within a limited spectrum. And even some of them meditate and achieve clairvoyance and look back and see many, many lifetimes, but then they see that they don't see all of the lifetimes. So then they get, from Buddhist point of view, confused because they see, oh, you know, there's cases of lack of retribution. You know, somebody's suffering this and there's nothing they did in the past that caused it. But actually there are more lifetimes. This is the sort of annoying Buddhist viewpoint that adds, you know, there are more lifetimes and more in the future. And there are others who don't meditate, who just, you know, say it's obvious. The rich people who are really stingy, right? And wealth and so forth is supposed to come from generosity, therefore things that produce causes. And they say things like, who made the sharpness of thorns? It's just their nature to be sharp. That's their nature. Who made the roundness of peas? It's just their nature to be round. The Jainas are trying to get the advantages of production from themselves and the advantages of production from others. Of course, they get the disadvantages too, I guess. But anyway. So, all of this is to get into the question of Shenle Gyo, production from others. In Prasāṅgika, we already accepted that cause and effect are other, right? Other entities, even other entities, not just other, and not just tade, they're theta, not. It's within Buddhism, this is just universal within Buddhism. There's some in Vaibhakti, there's some simultaneous cause and effect, but otherwise, cause and effect is different temporarily. Once it's different temporarily, then it's different in it. So, then the question comes, then the Prasāṅgikas assert Shenge. You can't assert Shenge. Shenge has to be so qualified that it's something that they don't assert. So then, annoyingly, Songpa adds in that Shenge means produced from other that is inherently exists in other that's established by way of its own parent. So Nikirti says, even in the world, there's no production from other even in the world. I think in our class last time, I got some help from Chandrakirti gives the example. For instance, somebody says, I planted this tree, whereas the person only planted the seed. And the same is, I don't know, the only way I can figure out how to translate it is, I engendered this child. But we don't say that. So I haven't found the word. So that's why in this text that you read for today, it said, I engendered this child. Did you read? So, does the world really not think of cause and effect as other? I mean, this is even what's being said. The world doesn't even consider cause and effect to be other. Shinla, yochikin. And I don't think in Chandrakiri's terms you have to even add in the term inherently other, right? The world doesn't use terms like inherently existing. Railway style, right? And the example I give in Emptiness Yoga, where I think the world does consider cause and effect to be different, if you ask, if I'm an apple seller and you ask me for 6 apples and I give you 6 apple seeds, you say, those aren't apples. That's different. It's so different. But actually, those are not the seeds of the apples that you had in, you have apples, presently existing apples in mind. But when you think of planting a seed, and you think of, even if you think of the tree or the apples that you're going to get from the seed, you're going to get from this seed, you see? 5 years from now, and you think of that process of production and flowering, whatever, and so forth, and the pollination and this and that. Of course, you're seeking something other than what you planted as your produce, right? But whether the cause and the effect are other, the world just doesn't go into it. It's just too, is it same or other? You shy away from it. And Eternity gives shy away from that terminology of same and other. Eternity gives as his examples. He says, therefore we say things like, I grew this tree, when all you did was plant the seed. And he says, I begat this child, when all you did was plant the seed, although that's a little difficult to imagine, for you to plant the seed and then go away, for 10 years and come back and say, I begat this child. Okay? No, that's like that example. He's pointing to an interesting thing that, forget about inherently existing and all that. We don't use the vocabulary of otherness. I was thinking in this book, there are situations. This was back in 73, just before coming here to Virginia. I come back from India, writing on my finishing letter, writing on my thesis and all that. And talking to Joel Wilson and Klein. I was thinking at that time, the world does use the vocabulary of otherness for cause and effect. Because it's the very, in a sense, the very otherness, in a sense that you're seeking. When you plant seeds and so forth, you are trying to get something else. Otherwise, why plant them? Why not just, leave them as is? But when you think of I think he's talking more of the actual production itself. You just avoid the topic of other understanding. That's interesting. So now, what Prasāṅgika and his followers do in order to avoid having to say, you see, Chandrakirti and so forth, just say we accept dependent arising. But there are terms like Shenla, rock lever, right? Rock lever means dependent. Shenla Dhamma, depending on another. You see the other? And so you see, it is said within Gilupa that cause and effect are other, Shen, other. They are other entities, no Shen, no other. But, and they accept that Yu Shenle, Jebu Shen Gyo, production of a cause that's other than, of an effect that's other than the cause. But that does not mean that they accept Shinge. Because Shinge means Rangitsani Kitube Shenle Gyo. Shinge itself means that. Do you follow? You can't dequalify Shinge. There isn't like conventionally existent Shinge and inherently existent Shinge. Shinge is Rangitsani Kitube Shenle Gyo.
And those kind of same people turn around and say, Shama Rakweba, so that's fine.
Right. Okay, it's enough for the day. So, for next time. Yes, meditation is 9 to 17 and Napper 67 to 122. Yes. This, my paper's such a mess, I can't read it. And they lay out, I think it's the first part, yes, of her interpretation of Euro-American Japanese scholars. Comparing them to what she's been